Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking about 6 rogue decks you can play for the December 2019 format. Now, I know December's coming to an end, but I really want to get this video out before the new expansion set comes out, because I feel like once that does, we'll have a whole new slew of decks to talk about. A few things change up with that. But we are finishing up December, and I think this is an important video to get out. It's kind of like a monthly segment we started doing on the channel, and it's working out pretty well, so I like it. We'll get into it. And of course, guys, if you have anything on here you disagree with, or if you have any other ideas for rogue decks to play this format, let us know in the comments below. This is not like an all-inclusive list. This is not like you can only play these 6 decks. This is just like my ideas for pretty cool rogue decks you can play in this format. With that being said, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. Want to get involved in Dragon Ball Super community? Make sure to check out the Discord down below. And finally, guys, 3 ways you can help the channel out. Number 1, the Patreon down below. Lots of competitive content for you. Pretty important now that we're heading towards 2020 competitive season. And we have the YouTube channel memberships down below with the join button. And finally, guys, if you want to buy any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to use my link to TCG Player or Beer Collectibles down below. With that being said, we will hop right into this. So first off, we've got Pan. I think Pan is really weird for me. One of those leaders I've always kind of wanted to play because there's so many cool strategies you can play with it. And now in this format, there's more than ever. I mean, you can play a few different things with this. As far as it goes, you can play mono red. You can go either mono red beatdown with familial bonds, or you can go the old school chain Zeno package. I do think both are relatively viable. Not too many decks are playing the hard negate counterplays. What I mean by that is like Preemptive Strike, Denial of Hope, like things that really stop chain attack Trunks. Like people play Vegeta the Cruel and Chomp of the Trickster, things like that, but those don't actually stop the effect of chain attack Trunks. So your chain Zeno is probably going to go off, and in a lot of matchups, that's probably just going to win you the game. Like chain Zeno, as fragile as it can be in certain matchups, it's absolutely backbreaking in other matchups. So I think it's really solid. I also think that mono red beatdown is also really good. I mean, red deck wins seems to be pretty strong right now. So I think that's a very viable option. Pan's always been one of the strongest leaders for that. And the fact that you can resolve Topo, which is one of the other staples of this format, you can resolve Topo and even out or potentially +1 on the exchange. That's pretty insane. Likewise, you can play red-green. Like I just said, the way you +1 on the Topo exchange is by activating Topo Righteous Aid and then pitching Beerus Godly Majesty. So Beerus Godly Majesty comes onto the board and you get a draw off Topo from your leader, meaning you +1 off Topo. Most other decks have to -1 off Topo, but in Pan, red-green specifically, you can +1 off Topo, and that's just like really broken. I mean, that's insane. Red-green's also got tons of other support, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And the other cool thing you can play with Pan right now is red-yellow Pan, which is really cool, guys. I mean, if you just look at the face of it, Dawn of Divinity Sun Goku, which is a 3-drop offering critical from set 8, that's just a really solid 3-drop to play in Pan. Unfortunately, you can't familial bonds it because it's a 20k beater, but just casting that for 3, Pan can get away with casting things for 3, unlike a lot of other decks, and not really get punished because she doesn't self-awaken. She doesn't really care when she awakens too much, because at any point in the game she could just slam Digging Deep, get it a crazy tempo turn. Otherwise, if the opponent is just going to beat her face in, that's fine. She doesn't really matter. She'll just go back to the next turn and get the same type of advantage. So you can play red-yellow. You can cast pretty awesome things like Dawn of Divinity, and you have access to SS4 Sun Goku Heartfelt Plea. It's really easy for you to get a 25k red battle card because of your leader's effect. And the really cool thing about that is you can even play SS4 Sun Goku Heartfelt Plea in mono red Pan as well, because when you play Digging Deep on play, he's going to reach 20k because of Pan's effect. Then he'll attack and he'll gain 5k for the duration of a turn. So the really big tempo play Pan usually has is play Digging Deep on 3, attack, rip 2 life, and you got the draw off Digging Deep as well. He's a 25k swinger, swinging twice. Then you can awaken, get 2 energy back, and then make another play, draw a card off Pan, swing with Pan. Like, that's a really crazy turn she has. And in mono red, you can just add like 2 or 3 copies of Heartfelt Plea and do the same thing. Just sacrifice the Digging Deep after it swings twice, and when you awaken, then the Heartfelt Plea is going to come in, trigger Pan's awaken effect. He's going to be a 35k, draw a card, and you played an offering 30k triple strike for free. That seems really solid to me. I think Pan is a really cool rogue deck to play this format. Next up, we have Clash Coup. I know I talked about this one in the last video, but man, I have been playing Clash Coup. I'm getting you guys a gameplay video of this actually on the channel pretty soon, and this deck is so much fun to me. Like, I've actually been having a lot of fun. If I had to pick the most fun rogue deck for myself this format, it's probably Clash Coup. Now, of course, we have the same interaction I talked about before. Topo in this deck, while it's not a +1, it is an even out because you are red-green. You're playing Topo, you're playing Beerus Godly Majesty. Those 2 cards are just like the perfect combination. They pair so perfectly together. and you just play them both on the board, get crazy advantage. Likewise, I also play the I don't even know what to call it, what kind of promo to call it, the Broly promo from the expansion set, the one that says if you have a red green energy, you draw 2, discard a card, and then you pop up to 3 costs on your opponent's board. That is even more synergy with Beerus Godly Majesty. Of course, you got Kaioken Son Goku as the top end. I only play as a 2 of because it's kind of like a secret rare in that sense, but you also have SS3 Scramble, so it's almost like you're playing 3 secret rares in that sense. And the other really cool thing about this deck is the other red-green support. You have Raditz Arrival the Invader, and you have Chi-Chi Motherly Majesty. They just pumped so much good red-green support into set 8 that it's kind of hard not to play. It's just such a fun strategy, a very fun rogue deck. You have aggro with Arrival, you have high-end plays with Kaioken Son Goku, you have a little bit of cheap aggro with Righteous Aid and Godly Majesty. The deck really hits things all around. I've really been enjoying it. I strongly recommend it. Next up, we have Android 21. Now, before you guys kill me down below, I am calling 21 a rogue deck. It did top PPT Dallas, but did not top Vegas. So I'm not ready to call it meta yet because it did miss that one top cut. I do think, however, it's a very strong rogue deck, and I think it's kind of similar to some of the other things I talked about in this video, where in certain matchups, like Android 21 Violent Predator is an absolute blowout. Like Hachiyak has no real way to deal with it. They can't negate the skills, it has deflect, and when this thing gets played, it's just wiping their entire board, field energy, everything. But other matchups like Baby, it's really tough to win. And the one reason I think this is actually going to be considered a rogue deck is because it does have its worst matchup in the format is probably arguably the best deck in the format. So I think it's pretty fair to call this deck a rogue deck. I do recommend it though. There are a lot of other variants of Android 21 out there too. I'm probably going to bring you guys 1 or 2 of them coming up relatively soon. But there are other very fun variants of 21 to play besides just the cookie cutter main set version. And for those reasons, I think you can be very creative with 21. I think you can play a lot of other blue-green engines, not just be tied to 21 Violent Predator. And for that reason, I'm strongly recommend you guys pick up 21, try some other things, and I think it's a really, really good rogue deck this format. Next up, we've got Kaioken Son Goku turning the tide. Now, this might be a weird one to look at because if you guys have been following anything about the Dragon Ball Super card game, you would know that Zeno Button is going to get the axe very soon. Zeno Button is very soon going to be on the ban and limited list for Dragon Ball Super, but I would still recommend picking up this deck. For one, you still have about a month of playing with Zeno Button, so you can definitely do that, and I do have a build on the channel if you want to check that out. But what I will say as well is we're getting the new expansion sets like I talked about, and we're getting new blue-green cards, specifically ones that interact with Revive. And I do think this deck is worth picking up because it's not too expensive, and we are getting those expansion sets. So if you wanted to mess around with those, if you're planning on getting the Piccolo one anyway, then you would have this deck already built to either integrate with the Piccolo Surge deck or to revamp your Kaioken Son Goku Turning the Tide deck. I do have ideas for how I'm going to transition this deck without Zeno Button into something else with all the new Revive support. So do stay tuned for that if you are interested. I do think this is another strong rogue deck to play. In the meantime, until Button gets banned, and even after, I'm still pretty hopeful about it. So I would definitely recommend it to you guys to pick up. Next up, we have Numba. Now, this has always been in top cuts, so maybe calling it rogue is a little bit bold, but I think Janemba's always been looked at as like the anti-meta, and for that reason, I'm including it in this video. And I don't like Janemba. I don't like to talk about it too much, but I would be disingenuous if I didn't mention it in this video because it is one of the stronger anti-meta decks right now. One of the things about Baby is it's so strong, has such a high ceiling, and it can extend so far with its plays, you know, just attacking with so many things and playing Heartfelt Plea and playing the big 8 monkeys, things like that. And Baby just has the defense to deal with it in a lot of cases. I mean, did I say Baby? I meant Janemba. Janemba has the defense to deal with it in a lot of cases where you just negate. You have your leader effect. If you splash into yellow, you have access to Nimbus. If you splash into red, you have Topo, Righteous Aid. So I think for that reason, Baby is a very solid contender for a rogue deck for this format. If you like this sort of thing, if you never played Janemba before, maybe try it out. It's definitely transitioned to more of a control deck than it used to be. It used to more just be like a defensive, defend the castle deck, but it's a bit more control now. So if you do like control, maybe give it a shot. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. And next up, guys, we've got Vegeta Baby. Not to be confused with Baby Vegeta. It seems like they finally got it right now that we are in set 8. But yeah, Vegeta Baby. I think this is a pretty powerful leader. Now, you might be looking at this one and thinking it's a little weird because, of course, the Baby engine is one of the most powerful decks in the format right now. But that has really only been proven with Starter Baby. So if we look at the other Baby leaders, There was the first baby leader, which we don't ever talk about. There's no reason to talk about it. And then we have starter baby, which has been topping quite a lot, and it just won a regional, or a pro play tour, I guess. And we have the main set 8 baby, which has not appeared in Top Cut yet, so it doesn't seem to be too powerful. And we do have Sand Power Vegeta Baby. This is pulled in one Top Cut slot at Dallas. Did not top Vegas, but I think the potential is there because of that Top Cut from Dallas. And personally, I like this version of Baby because it allows you to play a more mid-range game. You don't have to play a full smash the gas aggro build like you do in Starter Baby. You get to play a little bit more conservatively. You get to rest at 4 life and awaken, so you're a little more comfortable with the life you take. And yeah, I like this version of Baby a little bit more than Starter Baby, just from personal preference. If you like mid-range, if you like control better, I would recommend picking up this version of Baby. And I do have a profile for it on the channel as well, so make sure to check that out. But I would recommend this version of Baby over the current Yellow Baby if you are that type of player. If you like aggro, if you like smashing the gas, Yellow Baby's a deck for you. That's a meta deck though. We're talking about Rogue in this video, so this is what I'm going to recommend to you guys. So guys, those were the 6 decks that I think you could play for the rest of the December format. And this format really does reach into like mid-January, so I think it's okay to like post this now. You do have a lot of time to work with these decks, a lot of time to work with these lists, so hopefully this works out for you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.